All right, tutorial number 2. Shout outs to Bim. I'm glad you liked the first one. I'm very glad you liked the first one so much that I'm doing a number 2 on a fundamental technique, chirps. Yes, we're gonna do a in-depth tutorial on chirps. It's gonna take a while. There's a lot to say about how to chirp, how to make it funky. Hope you got some popcorn. Hope you're on the train. Hope you're playing Call of Duty, something, because it's gonna be a while. So, first thing about chirps, it's kind of cool to give context. Little history lesson. The chirps, as far as I know, early 80s. I remember hearing DJ Marley Marl using it on his tracks. Not that I was listening to hip hop that early, but you know, kind of doing my research, heard it there for sure. What I personally really remember was DJ Premier and the East Coast DJs using chirps beautifully in their tracks. You know, again, DJ Premier, I really feel him and people around him put a certain style to chirps that was a lot funkier. Showed a lot of soul that you could do, and distinguished it from the West Coast chirps. So real quick. The West Coast chirps were really sharp. But then you had Premier, and he was in the hooks on his tracks. You started hearing something like, and that's the style that, you know, I know that me and my crew that we started working towards as far as the way we were doing chirps. So getting into the actual motion and the technique of a chirp, you start off top of your sample, have your fader in the open position, and then you push the sample up and close the fader. And then you do the back part of the chirp where you pull your hand back, but before you pop the fader back open, you want to pull your hand first. So there's a little bit of a delay. So pull your hand back, start that motion, and then pop the fader in. So the full motion, really slow, is... So what you're essentially doing is you're playing the sample, pushing it up, but then chopping off the end of the sample. And then when you're coming back, because of that delay, you're chopping off the beginning of the back motion. And by making the sample shorter, you know, chopping off, you know, the end and then chopping off the beginning of the back, you're making the sample shorter and you're getting a higher pitched, sharper sound, which is why they call it a chirp, because it sounds a little bit like a bird. So one more time. Push the sample up and then close the fader, and then pull it back and open shortly after. Okay, so that's the motion of a chirp. But to get into some depth, because you can Google that 100 times, right? The difference between a good and a bad chirp. Now, somebody asked me this, and I think it was a really good question, because nobody really tries to listen to what makes a good versus a bad chirp, because it's such a basic fundamental technique. So we'll do it to a beat. I'll do some bad chirps, and then I'll do some good chirps. So here's bad chirps. Here's good chirps, and try to listen for the difference. bat again, okay? So all in all, a bad chirp is not accurate, and a good chirp is incredibly clean, incredibly accurate. And the reason why is because as you get faster, as you do double time, even triple time, start doing a lot of combos, the accuracy of your chirp is really going to show. So I hear a lot of DJs doing chirps, but as they try to get into double time, as they try to get to just faster tempos, that little bit off in your chirp is really going to show. And a lot of times that's what loses scratch battles, I'll say. So I'm going to go through with the beat just a bunch of good chirps to show the sound and to show the type of sharpness you're going to want. Okay, so what is this? This is section 4. I actually got a curriculum here. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. So section 4, I get a lot of compliments on my chirps. Thank the Lord, because I've been working on them for 15 years. I hope I got something right. But something that I do, again, that people don't really talk about too much is variations in the pitch. So when doing your chirps, to give it flavor, incredibly important is practicing the pitch of your chirp. So quick example, there's a middle, high, and low range of the pitch. Here's the middle. Then you got high. And then you have low. It's practicing your hand control. But by having full control of all those pitches, by going back and forth, you're going to start to get some syncopation. But here's just accenting with some high-pitched chirps to give it some syncopation. All chirps, all at full tempo. But by putting that extra pitch, you're starting to get some rhythm, some syncopation, and you want to make sure that you're practicing all the way down, all the way up. So real quick, here's going from all the way down in the pitch to all the way to the top. So, pitch, incredibly important. Another aspect is don't always think you have to finish the chirp motion. So sometimes you're just going to want to put the front, sometimes you're just going to want to put the back of the chirp. And again, that's going to give you rhythm, some flavor, some syncopation, instead of just doing the straight chirp. So here's some examples. Here's just using the front sometimes. You can also only put the back. Sometimes you don't got to put the fader motion at all. You're going to get a little baby in there, and that'll give you some rhythm too. So that's all chirps, just different variations of the chirp. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about is my personal secret for holding a chirp for a very long time. This is something I know a lot of people struggle with, and one of the first people I remember to really just hold a chirp like he could just hold it all day. The entire beat was DJ Revolution, and DJ Revolution has a nasty chirp, and holding it is one of those difficult techniques. So for me, my personal secret is to shake your hand out every now and then to give you a rest. And I'll do an example to a beat, then I'll explain how it's done. So what you'll notice there is I'm doing the high pitch every now and then to give syncopation. But what's actually going on to really hold the chirp continuously, if you were to just hold the chirp at the same pitch, what's happening is your hand is at the same tension that entire time. And if your hand is stuck at a certain tension, it's going to start to cramp. And that's what's going to cause you to like lose your timing and drop your chirp. But if you loosen up your hand and shake it out to give a pitch, that's going to actually change the tension in your hand and relax it a little bit. So by changing the tension continuously and not just kind of holding it like that, you can just hold it there forever, because it's, you know, being relaxed, being tensed, and you're not gonna lose the accuracy or the timing of your chirp. I'm just going to kind of go through everything that I talked about. This freestyle over a beat, strictly just chirps, and you know, you can see how it's used in you know, a full kind of routine the way I do it. Okay, that's it. Everything I could possibly say about chirps, everything that I've personally found. Honestly, there's probably a lot more out there, but I hope giving a little bit more on the depth of a chirp and how you can use it to, you know, really exhibit a lot of style with just that technique was helpful. All right, peace. Thanks to everybody that watched it. Good luck.